Hollywood is struggling to test new IPs without spending a lot of money, right? So creators already have an audience, they have an IP or a brand, and if Hollywood can bring the benefits of that to their content, then it's really powerful.
What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Make That Make Sense, the game show that breaks down the weekly stories shaping the business of media. Today's guest is somebody who has become a master in the YouTube world, so let's get to his scouting report. So today we're going to have on Oliver Gilpin. Oliver is the Chief Executive Officer at both Telos Media and Now Creatives, which are UK-based media companies that help to grow, scale, and incubate educational media brands on YouTube. He's also the co-founder of Solar Balls and Human Buddy, which are popular animated and educational YouTube channels. And he is the creator of Team Indonesia. Team Indonesia was an online creator movement that brought together influencers in Indonesia to help bring awareness to the region's climate issues. All right, excited to have Oliver on, so let's get him on the show. Oliver, thanks for coming on Make That Make Sense.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Eric. Yeah, let's have a great chat.
Yeah, glad we got to connect a month or two ago and had put you on the list to have you as a guest, and a lot of great topics to discuss this week, so happy we're doing it. Should we get to the rules really quickly and then we'll get to the show?
Totally, let's do it.
All right, so a quick rule breakdown. On Make That Make Sense, we go through one headline, one tweet, and one deal in 15 minutes. Each section, meaning the headline, deal, and tweet, will last 3.5 minutes. You'll then have 1 minute to answer both trivia questions, and all topics are from the last 10 days, in this case from just the last couple of days. All right, should we get to our headline?
Let's do it.
So, after a lot of worrying about what Beast Games would do on Amazon Prime, I think most people would regard it as a success. Beast Games in the first 25 days saw 50 million viewers, so it was the highest viewed unscripted show on Amazon Prime. Now Hollywood, of course, is looking for its next Beast Games. This might be hard to replicate given Mr. Beast's unique following, but what does Beast Games and what does Hollywood's willingness to adopt Beast Games tell you about the future of influencer-led content in more traditional media?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting because there's a lot of creators who have audiences who are very loyal to them, and Hollywood is struggling to test new IPs without spending a lot of money, right? So creators already have an audience, they have an IP or a brand, and if Hollywood can bring the benefits of that to their content, then it's really powerful. And in particular, I think what's interesting with social media is the content and the marketing are kind of blended together, right? You have content that is packaged in a way that the algorithm will promote. And with Hollywood, you don't really have that. You have distribution separate and marketing separate from the content. And I think that in the world of attention becomes a very commoditized thing, we all have to value distribution being embedded within content and basically marketing embedded within content. So I think that Hollywood is going to see a lot of success if it can find those content formats that inherently have cast members from creator economy or even producers from the creator economy or those kind of individuals who can bring that audience across.
And when these major streaming platforms such as a Netflix or an Amazon Prime is looking for its next show, it's obviously looking for its return on investment. As somebody who works in the YouTube space, what are the main metrics or analytics that dictate whether a YouTube creator will do well on a more traditional platform? Is there a science to it? How do you kind of look at that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think it's still to be determined. It's a work in progress, but I would say the main thing is, first of all, viewership, as Hollywood is already looking at, but that's very surface level. I think that what we really need to see is community, and if there are fandoms around those creators, that's a really good sign that people are interested in the character of that creator, which means they can become a cast member of a show, and then there's potential for them to transition into that traditional world of being more of a cast member as opposed to an individual. So I think that is a really key point, is finding those metrics that measure community, measure engagement, let's say fan-made content, reposted content. I think that really helps to figure out what creators have that audience. They're willing to follow them, willing to see them as characters, willing to see them as people in different formats, different media areas. Yeah.
So, given your expertise, I'll put you on the spot here. Who is a YouTube creator that you think should get their own Netflix show, given the success of Beast Games?
Yes, that's an interesting one. I think Michelle Carr has already got one. She's got distributed her existing YouTube show onto Netflix, but I think that they're probably going to do a premium version of that show. I think that she can have a lot of success. She's got a great community. Otherwise, our own brand Solar Balls is, doing pretty great. So I have to call out Solar Balls still.
I would as well.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll see how things go.
All right. Should we get on to our tweet?
Let's do it.
So many call this past election the podcast election, and it was the first time, maybe in political history, that we've seen so many forms of alternative media have an impact on the way people viewed the candidates and ultimately voted. Now we're seeing that the White House is now inviting independent creators to sit in these really official press briefings. So it's multi-layered. There's different implications. First, tell me about kind of the challenges of bringing independent creators who may have an audience into a really official newsroom where they're going to be probably held to higher journalistic standards.
Yeah, I think the main challenge I foresee is that these creators, most of them are going to be maybe starting out from an impartial perspective, which is a journalistic standard. But I think that as they don't have the journalistic training, they're going to probably struggle to keep that impartiality when you're close to power. And I think that's a really interesting piece of how journalism has, struggled in the past decades. Is it's gone from being able to resist power's pull to pull one side or the other, and it's struggling with that. And I think creators probably going to struggle with it way more. And maybe that is why the White House is opening it up, because they foresee that distribution channel, which is probably less challenging to them with questions. So, I am generally, I'd say, concerned by that, because I think that those creators may become politicized when they may have not been previously politicized, or they may just, intentionally silence themselves, which implicitly kind of causes endorsement, which then politicizes them. So I think that's an interesting challenge, which we're going to see how it uncovers. Yeah.
So legacy media is going to adapt and reform. It's not going to go completely away. For somebody who's in social media strategy and now you see this announcement, if you were an NBC and ABC, how do you adapt to this announcement? Do you bring in your own independent creators to help do this? How would you think about that transition?
Yeah, really interesting. I would say there is a lot of potential for those independent creators who have audiences to, again, draw their audiences to these traditional platforms and news organizations. So I think that's a definitely interesting strategy I've not thought of, and I'm with you. I think that can be valuable. Otherwise, I think it is seeing what creators are doing, how they're getting attention on social media, and finding ways for just to succeed in terms of using maybe a longer format like the podcasting that these political creators have been using. Yes, finding those and trying to win the creators game as well. Got to compete with the creators on social media.
Given that you're based in the UK, do you see this form of independent content creation journalism making its way over there, or do you think it's just isolated to the US at this point?
Yeah, I think it's going to make its way. There's already the beginning signs of it being more popular in the UK. I think that maybe our systems are going to be a bit more resistant to it becoming part of our traditional kind of press briefing channels and stuff. But yes, I think it's going to come to the UK as well. I think it's a global phenomenon which comes from individuals who have media power in the world, and if they can be brought into an either impartial or politicized side that the government wants, then they're going to be likely interesting to the government.
All right, should we go to our deal?
Let's do it.
So it's become quite exhausting to follow all the TikTok news. First, we thought it was going to be banned. Now it looks like it's probably not going to be banned. And now we have a line of suitors trying to get its ownership on the app. And one of them is this hot AI platform called Perplexity, who is proposing two things. One, to get rid of TikTok's algorithm, right, to mitigate the national security concerns, and then give the US government a 50% stake in the company. What do you make of this? Do you think this getting rid of the algorithm solves the national security concerns? What are the implications of government being involved? Give me your take on that.
Yeah, I think that the security concerns are probably handled by that decision. But at the same time, as you've mentioned, it creates other issues in other ways. So I think for me, I'm quite concerned by this idea, which is it's one thing for news organizations to be politicized. You have CNN, you have Fox News, but it's another thing for platforms to be politicized because that's similar to a village square where people come to communicate, they come to talk about issues. And if that becomes controlled by a political force, which could be the government or the official government, then that is going to be potentially an issue because that means that that space to communicate about ideas is itself, controlled as part of a side. So I foresee that being potentially an issue, although obviously the terms are talking about non-voting control and other pieces that would almost, remove that impact, remove that from the equation. I think it just feels too weird that they would offer the government to be a part of this deal if there wasn't something deeper in terms of the incentives here.
Yeah, I think anybody would say that there are definitely deeper incentives to getting the US government involved in this. An interesting statistic is we saw for about a week or two after TikTok was first rumored to be banned, there was a drop off in TikTok usage and then an increase in alternative platforms. And now that spike has ended and it's all gone back to TikTok. What does this show you about the strength and uniqueness of TikTok's algorithm compared to competitors like an Instagram Reels to a YouTube Shorts? Why is it so much essentially better for the user?
Yeah, I think it comes down to they've designed it, perfectly for the animal brain, the lizard brain of us to really, attach onto us. And I think that they've managed to do that well. So I think if they can create the most pleasure and they've created over hundreds of hours of viewers' time, they created that association with this app creates this feeling. That's really hard to break. So I think it's going to be hard for even other platforms that do similar things to fully compete with that because that's already a link that's been made.
Yeah, a definite withdrawal syndrome. Even my younger sister was experiencing some of that withdrawal. So I understand that. All right, should we go to our trivia?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one, guess that company. This company lost traction after Facebook started. It was based in the UK and it shut down in 2016.
Okay.
This one is a very targeted one, of course.
Okay. MySpace.
It's not MySpace, no.
Okay. That's way earlier. I am not sure.
Okay. It is Friends Reunited. So that was an early, for those who don't know, that was kind of an early UK social network. All right. Two truths and a lie. Tell me which one is the lie. First, Mr. Beast has more than 2 times the subscribers than anyone else. Bilibili is the Chinese version of X. And YouTube is the second most visited site in the world.
Okay. Truth is Bilibili and the second and third, and the lie is Mr. Beast has 2 times more subscribers than anyone else.
Okay, so the lie is actually option 2 here. I have to be honest, that was the last statistics I saw from Mr. Beast, so maybe somebody has caught up to him at least a little bit. But in terms of last numbers, that would be true. Actually, Weibo is the Chinese version of X.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I've tried Bilibili, and you're right. It's more of a YouTube thing, I guess. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
less of a
All right.
X. Okay.
Oliver,
That's
really appreciate you doing this and coming on the show. Really excited that everything you're working on and bringing animation to not only YouTube but also to educational content. So I'm sure that that will continue to grow, and a lot of people will get a lot of value out of that. So excited to stay connected, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it was good fun. See you
Awesome,
next time.
Oliver. All right.